Welcome back to Gaelic Games Fan TV. How are we all getting on? How is the form? And so it is the big one, the All-Ireland football final, Kerry versus Donegal, taking place on Sunday. And this is going to be the preview show. This is going to be the prediction as well. Joined by Matthew Hurley from the Gaelic Statsman podcast to preview and to run through this one. Look, it doesn't get any bigger than this in terms of All-Ireland final. We were here last week, obviously previewing the All-Ireland hurling final. And obviously what a surprise that thrown up. So you certainly can't predict what is going to happen this weekend. We're going to run through both of our predictions, discuss some of the key talking points. A bit like last week as well, we're going to get up the matchups on the screen as well and kind of run through matchups, players coming off the bench and different things like that. So certainly a lot to break down, certainly a lot to preview. So for anyone who's tuning in, hit the like button, subscribe, get your comments in as well. Let us know in the comments your predictions for some of this weekend's games because, I think we're all very, very excited for it. Matthew, how's life? I suppose the elephant in the room was obviously Sunday, and I know some people will want to hear you mention that ever so slightly, but we obviously won't focus in on it. But how's the mood? And I think, as we were saying there, the only thing that might cheer you up is the Donegal win on Sunday.
Yeah, I suppose so. Thanks for having me on again, Aaron. And look, in regards to the game last week, I've said all I needed to say on my own TikTok. I've said all I needed to say on the Southern Star podcast as well. So anybody that wants to see my thoughts on that, see it on those kind of channels. Look, it's a hard one to fathom. Everybody in Cork is very, very downbeat, I would say, down here after such a... I would describe it as a disappointing second half because I don't want to lay too much into the players because I know how tough it is to lose an All-Ireland final by around that margin in Croke Park as well, in front of 80, well, not in front of 83,000, but like for them to lose it in front of a full house in Croke Park, it's not great for the players. They are going to have one of the worst weeks of their lives, I would imagine, the players. It's not the time to talk about retirement. It's not the time to talk about terms up or whatever. It's just very disappointing down here that we didn't get over it. Well, we were way off going over the line. Again, just very disappointing. That's all I could say on it. If you want to see my own thoughts on it, go through the relevant channels. And congratulations to Tipperary, deserving champions of the hurling last weekend. In terms of this weekend, you're probably right. Yeah, I probably would want to Donegal win just to cheer up the mood in many ways. But putting the neutral cap on, I do feel this is probably the two best teams in the country. Donegal against Kerry. It is two of them have performed well and they have earned their place in the final. It's going to be an interesting enough battle between the two. I would say Donegal have more scores on their team, but Kerry have more experience once it comes to finals. So it's going to be a very interesting dynamic to see that and see who does win the game. It probably should be a lot tighter than it was last weekend. But then again, as you said, sport, you never know.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. Yeah, make sure to definitely check out Matthew's TikTok and the Southern Star and everything else. When people do get a chance. Some comments flying in here already. Connor says Donegal will just be too strong for Kerry. Dublin is great, says Jimmy. We'll have a plan for Clifford and on Donegal. Connor says Shawnee will have a good game. Jack says again, a lot of lazy analysis in some media. Paddy and Shawnee good. People saying only stop Clifford. Hope Jack put that up in the dressing room like against Armagh. And Jordan says Kerry versus Donegal, the All-Ireland Gaelic Senior Football Championship final. Donegal will win by 3 points. Donegal, and Jimmy has a plan. He's no lucky man. And they have a strong team from 1 to 26. Donegal by 3. Shane says hope Donegal win. Faithful Podcast says I think Kerry will have enough. And Tom says Kerry by 5. So it's... in terms of like predictions and everything else, we'll get on to ours a little bit later, but it does feel like it's going to be such an even game. And even when you look at when you look through the trajectory of both teams en route to this moment, they've had very, very similar years, like since the league. Both won their provincial titles. Look, that's the only part where it probably does differ a little bit because we know that Kerry's route in their provincial championship is a lot smoother and a lot easier than Donegal, and that's just true to the standard of teams. It's nothing got to do with Kerry or anything of that nature. It's just got to do with the fact that Ulster is far more competitive. It's got Division 1 teams in there as an example. But since the group stages, like both had one defeat, which maybe surprised us a little bit. Kerry losing to Meath, Donegal losing to Tyrone, both of which identically lost to the opposite teams then in the All-Ireland semi-finals. And even as well, Donegal were trailing by 6-7 at half time against Monaghan, came roaring out of the blocks in the second half. Kerry, somewhat similar, 5 down versus Armagh, came back to win very, very comfortably, and obviously that kind of famous third quarter, which everyone's since mentioned. And then the semi-finals as well, where, both kind of pushed on and had their moments. You have Michael Murphy at 14 for Donegal. You've got David Clifford up there for Kerry. Both stars in their own right, brilliant defenders. Especially with the new rules as well, it has the making to be, a lot of people have said, this could be the greatest All-Ireland final of all time. Would you agree with that, do you think? Or what would be your kind of opinion on the standard of football we could see on Sunday?
Judging by the way the new rules have revolutionised Gaelic football, and judging that we have the two probable best teams on Sunday, I would say there's a strong case for it. I think Donegal have done very well this year in terms of playing 10 games, and there's been some players that have played actually every minute. Kieran Thompson, I think, has Langan, has thereabouts, Brendan McCole, so they deserve a lot of credit for that. Obviously, your final involving Kerry will involve some good attacking football, but then again, the only All-Ireland final meeting between these two sides in 2014 actually ended up being a drab enough encounter, so we'll never know, obviously. But then again, it was kind of different back then because both sides probably wouldn't have been expected even before the semi-finals to reach the final. It would have been Mayo and Dublin with favourites that year. Both sides would have been the favourites this year. A lot of people would have predicted this would be the final pairing between Donegal and Kerry. So yeah, it's going to be, I think, a very interesting battle. A lot of comments are saying there that David Clifford and Shawnee O'Shea, that's nonsense that they're a one-man team. And what I do think it is lazy analysis in a way for the likes of Brawley. Well, that's what you could expect of Brawley. He's a bit of a talking tripe this year anyway. But you look at the scoring chart for Kerry this season. David Clifford has 8 goals and 53 points. Sean O'Shea has 1 goal and 44. Their next top scorer is Paul Gainey with 210. I'm not necessarily saying that Kerry are a two-man team because Joe O'Connor has been absolutely exceptional in midfield. I think obviously Gainey, when he has played, has done very well. Paulie Clifford is providing a lot of chances for the guys inside as well. But judging by those stats and look at scores of the points there is a strong argument to be made to say that David Clifford and Sean O'Shea are the two main men for Kerry, and if you stop them, you kind of stop Kerry at source. Whereas you look at Donegal, you look at their scores, there's a plethora of players above 10 points. For instance, you look at, for example, Michael Murphy on 44, Conor O'Donnell on 3 goals to 21, Michael Langan 1 goal to 25, Paddy McGrearty 1 goal to 23, Thompson 1 goal to 22, Oisin Gallen 1 goal to 21, Darrell Wheel 1 goal to 15, Padder Morgan from cornerback 14 points, Kieran Moore 2-8. The standard of players for Donegal and the scoring they have got is very, very impressive this season. So it will be difficult for Kerry to. And a lot of commentary around was saying if you stop Michael Murphy, you stop Donegal at source. The thing is, though, Conor O'Donnell is still lurking around and having a very underappreciated year, in my opinion. Michael Langan is still having a stronger year midfield. Paddy McGrearty will start on the bench and he will come on and make an impact there. And he does experience Kieran Thompson, Oisin Gallen, Darrell Boyle. They do have some extra players all over the pitch, Donegal. So Kerry have to be very much aware of that. The midfield battle, I think, is going to be very interesting. We might discuss it in depth in a sec. Michael Langan against Joe O'Connor, when you look at the stand-up midfielders for both sides. And both of them, I'd argue, even before the ball is thrown in on Sunday, I think that's the slam dunk all-star midfield, Michael Langan and Joe O'Connor. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these two match up against each other. So yeah, some very interesting battles all over the field. But it's a very interesting dynamic saying that Clifford and O'Shea are the two main scorers for Kerry. The stat would tell you that is the case. But when you look at the other aspects of the play, other than scoring, you look at Joe O'Connor and Paddy Clifford, they might have something to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely they will. And there is so much like interesting facets from the midfield battle to who will pick up David Clifford. I think the word on the street is that'll be Brendan McCall, who's going to pick up Michael Murphy as well. I've definitely seen some interesting shouts in terms of who should pick up Michael Murphy. And we'll certainly get into matchups in a moment. Jack says it's 50-50. It's not clear cut. Donegal win. No, absolutely, yeah. Like I don't think you could say anyone's going to win. It's not clear cut for anyone. It could really go either way. Do you know that way? And you can understand people backing either way. Look, I think a replay is definitely a potential this weekend as well. Definitely think it's a possibility as well. A2 says Kerry have a 4 up them this year, but Donegal 1-15, I think, are slightly stronger. Fascinating game. Do you know what? Like, I agree with you as well. I think like Donegal have more options in terms of attack. Like, I think if this becomes a straight shootout, I think that would actually suit Donegal more. In terms of their attacking players, they've got more players that can do damage. But I think on the other hand side, though, Kerry probably have the best player on the pitch, the best forward on the pitch in David Clifford. And you've probably got one of the best players who can set him up as well in Paddy Clifford. And it is contrasting styles as well when you think about it. Like Donegal play a running game mainly. Kerry play a kicking game. So many contrasting styles, potentially going into Sunday as well.
It is. And judging by that statement there, Aaron, I think a final during that kind of intensity between the two sides, and the energy that is exasperated there as well. I think the kicking game might actually suit Kerry, which is obviously a worry for Donegal. I think Jim McGuinness needs to be smart this Sunday, but then again, these tacticians, they come up with these brilliant kind of plays, in fairness, for the All-Ireland finals. And you look at, for example, Liam Cahill coming up with ways beating Cork in the hurling. Like, Jim McGuinness has a way of coming up with different styles to beat opposition teams. But what would be interesting as well, what I think, is the kick out, because you looked at the kick out, the Armagh kick out against Kerry, and it was well documented how many scores Kerry got off the Armagh kick-out. They got, I think, around 16 points off Armagh's kick-outs out of 13, out of 14 won. I think they scored 13 out of 14 kick-outs that were Armagh's, but won by Kerry. So look, Kerry will be interested in trying to stifle Donegal in terms of that. But the thing is, Sean Patton doesn't kick like Ethan Rafferty does. Ethan Rafferty normally kicks around maybe 65, 45 metre lines. Whenever Patton kicks the ball, he boots it long that it goes beyond the opposition's 65. So do Kerry have the opportunity then to build a platform to attack, even if they win the Patton kick out? I'm not so sure. So again, some very interesting facets over that in fairness. And what is interesting as well, you mentioned Brendan McCall and David Clifford. That's the obvious one, because you look at Donegal's defenders, they're more, I would say, arguably very attack-minded defenders. Like Ryan McHugh will go up and assist scores. Padder Morgan, he scored a lot this season. Finbar Rorty is a young, raw, I would say, kind of player. Very talented, obviously. But would you put him on David Clifford for his first ever All-Ireland final? That would be too much pressure on the guy. So I think Brendan McCall, in a matter of fact, I think he is probably the obvious candidate to go on Clifford in terms of all the aspects they're talking about. So from a Kerry point of view, on Murphy, you have Jason Foley there. I don't think if Thomas Sullivan is fit, I don't think Thomas Sullivan is going on Michael Murphy, but then again, could have worked the other way. If Thomas Sullivan goes on Michael Murphy, would that force Murphy to go out of it? Like, it's a very interesting call from a Kerry point of view there. I don't think Gavin White will probably go on him. Mike Breen probably not. So I think Jason Foley probably is the right man for him. And you look at Shane Ryan's kickouts as well. That's been branded about that it's been pretty decent for the kick out from the Kerry point of view. But even look at average stats and stuff like that. We'll have the average stats up on the page now tomorrow. But from looking at that and looking at the workings with them, the only game where Kerry really, really struggled on kickouts was actually the 2 games against Cork, which was funny enough to kind of say that. So I think, number one, I think that probably proves 2 things from both Cork and Kerry side. Number one, from the Kerry side, it actually proves Kerry's kickout isn't as bad as everybody makes it out to be. It's actually very, very good. Joe O'Connor is winning a amount of ball this year. And when Dermot O'Connor plays, it actually improves Kerry's kickout. And number 2, people probably should take Cork more seriously when you look at the midfield as well, because you look at the opposition that Kerry played this season. Roscommon didn't really get on top of them during kickout time. Tyrone didn't get enough. Oh, they didn't the first few minutes, but then faded after that in the semi-final. Armagh, as mentioned earlier, they really, really struggled with the Kerry kickout, and in fact their own as well in terms of giving Kerry some oxygen. So like, could that be an avenue where Kerry go down and try and get some joy off it? It's going to be very interesting to see.
Absolutely, yeah. A2 says you'd be a brave man to call this game though. Kicking versus running, stall versus substance. It could be a real classic role on a replay. And interesting as well, like when you were mentioning about who will pick up Michael Murphy. Like I did see a few shouts on Twitter saying that Joe O'Connor could potentially be a bit of a shout in terms of size. And especially when you see Michael Murphy drifting, he tends to drift back quite a lot. But then you would be taking Joe O'Connor away, do you know what I mean, from that kind of middle of the park. So it'll be interesting. But look, we'll run into the matchups here now. So we'll get them up on the screen so people will be able to take a look. A bit like we did last week for anyone who watched the show last week. And we kind of got the matchups and everything else. I have this time actually added some players on the bench here. Now I know they won't be kind of in here behind the goal, but we kind of had nowhere else to put them here, as you can see. So and hopefully it's not too messy in the middle. So what I've done is I've just picked out the starting 15s from the last 2 games, and I've just put them all in, and then we can kind of work through the matchups in terms of how they go. So looking at like matchups, like I suppose a lot of people are saying Brendan McCall probably goes on David Clifford. To be fair, David Clifford will probably end up somewhere in here. And Paddy Clifford will probably, you'd imagine, end up somewhere more along here. But in terms of matchups, what would you be thinking there? Any kind of key matchups maybe stand out for you?
I think Finbar Rorty on Paul Geaney would actually be a very interesting matchup when you look at Paul Geaney's record when he has played 2-10 overall in the championship so far this season. I think about 2-8 or 2-9 has come for play as well. 2-8 I think for play. In fact, Finbar is a very, very talented footballer, and probably simplified by the fact he did so well against me. You didn't get any, you read that wrong there. But to be fair, I think Paul Geaney could actually start genuinely.
Yeah, I think he is back, to be fair. So yeah.
So it'll be very interesting to see that kind of point of view there. Owen Bawn on Sean O'Shea is a very, very interesting one there. Ryan McHugh, I'm seeing Graham O'Sullivan. I think Ryan McHugh and Graham O'Sullivan is actually a very good show there, because Graham O'Sullivan's more of a defensive player. Ryan McHugh, both of them will follow each other up and down the pitch. So it's going to be probably light for light there. You look at Caolan McColgan on Paddy Clifford, Mark O'Shea and Patrick Bogan.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm not too sure if Mark O'Shea will start, to be fair. I think we could see something like this. If Paul Geaney does start, we could see Paddy Clifford maybe kind of named inside the full forward line as well. He did play in around there the last day as well. So it is going to be interesting, because Kerry have, they have a huge amount of injuries, as we very well know, and there is rumours that like Jeremy O'Connor, Paul Geaney's going to be back, Tom O'Sullivan, Toig Morley, these lads. So like they've like, and even looking at like both benches there as well, like especially with Kerry having key players back, like that could be. It does give them a bit of an advantage, I must say, like looking at both benches there.
Maybe so, yeah. And I probably agree with you. I think Mark O'Shea has had a very, very good season, but look, it is his first real intercounty campaign, and it'll probably be a throw into the deep end. And I think Kerry will go for experience rather than huge in its own right. Dermot O'Connor, could that be a curveball? Could he go in to midfield there? Sean O'Brien probably could go out there.
Yeah, I'll throw Dermot O'Connor in. Yeah.
So then you have Killian Spillane, Thomas Sullivan. If Thomas Sullivan's fit, you would imagine he'd be a curveball as well. Who would he come in for? Then again, Dylan Casey's had a decent season at quarterback.
Maybe. Yeah, to be fair, I like the matchup of Tom O'Sullivan, Oisin Gallen. I think that's a good one, to be fair, as well.
Paul Murphy would go out. That's big call if that was the case.
Yeah, I don't know though. Yeah, or do you know what? Like, they could do a scenario where Dylan Casey actually moves over here, and he's the one to actually pick up Oisin Gallen, and then look, I think for Jack O'Connor that'd be the thing, because I think the thing is with Kerry is that a lot of these lads who've come in for the lads who've been injured have really stepped up. And let's be honest, like, they're the lads who have dragged, I know people, and I do agree with the narrative as well. It's not just David Clifford. Of course it isn't. But you're looking at things defensively as well. And Kerry have done very well in that aspect, I think, over the last 2 games. So there is an argument just to keep, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think if you have lads like Tom O'Sullivan, Toig Morley, Killian Spillane, Dermot O'Connor, like, imagine bringing them off the bench if the game is still in the melting pot with 10, 15 minutes to go. Or can you imagine, like, if you're 2, 3, 4 points up and you're bringing these experienced lads to hold on, like, it's, that could be huge.
Maybe so, yeah. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see the half-back line of Kerry and who will go on then, because every one of them Donegal forwards has apparent strengths. Shane O'Donnell, in setting up his teammates and being unselfish, like, he has done that all season, even though he did score a lot during the last few games. Maybe so, but the thing is, what would you rather, experience or youth? That's the key thing here. That's what the But that's the dilemma with Kerry in its own right. But when you look at Donegal, that's an advantage for Donegal, actually, because you do have experienced players in and around the team, other than Phil Rorty, of course. But like, you look at all the Michael Langan's played for a few seasons now, Kieran Thompson has as well, Shane O'Donnell, and as I mentioned there, the half forward line has their own strengths. Kieran Moore comes up with clutch moments and can defend as well, which is actually a boost, because Brino Blokely has been a kind of an asset for Kerry moving forward. Kieran Thompson is probably one of the few 2-pointed kickers for Donegal as well. Shane O'Donnell as well. I think the Kerry defence has to be very, very disciplined as well, because I think Donegal are the smartest team in terms of their shooting, because you looked at the last day against Meath, they kicked only 1 2-pointer and they still scored 3 goals and 26 points. And their shooting accuracy is very high, but the main reason for this, and a lot of teams have done this throughout the whole season, including Meath themselves in the semi-final, where they're saying, oh God, we have to get a 2-pointer. We have to go up the field and get a 2-pointer. We're not coming away without a 2-pointer here. Whereas Donegal are like, it's cool. We'll keep the scoreboard ticking and we'll keep the opposition panicking in its own right. So I see what Galway did last year with Donegal, and they were getting the Donegal forwards to move from side to side to side to side. And eventually Donegal started to panic in the second half. That was the only time under Jim McGuinness' second tenure as Donegal boss that I've actually seen Donegal panic in front of the posts. So I think it's going to be crucial for Kerry to keep their discipline defensively. And to be fair, Jason Foley did that against Tyrone. You look at others as well. Mike Breen had a decent game. Gavin White was very good defensively, as good as he was offensively as well. And then Joe O'Connor, I think he'll have a big role to play in turning over. He turned over a lot of ball against Tyrone in the semi-final as well. So it's going to be very interesting looking at those kind of aspects as well, and how Kerry deal with the threats that Donegal do have up front.
Yeah, absolutely as well. And it's interesting as well, because like when you think back to 2014, and there is actually like a lot of similarities between in terms of management teams and everything else. There's a lot of similarities between that final, and even, this final, like you had Michael Murphy, who obviously played that day as well. I think Paul Gainey might have played as well, back in 2014, in that final. But like, Jim McGuinness is known to throw a curveball. He's known to think of something outside the box. And like what you says, in the final between Tip and Cork, and it was even something we discussed. We were kind of saying there's going to be a curveball somewhere. There's going to be something thrown in somewhere. What could you see here? Because like I do think back to when Donegal played Dublin in 2014, and they swarmed their defensive line. There was lads coming back here, left, right, and centre. And they just allowed Dublin to kind of control the ball around this area. And they allowed Dublin to play their kicking game. They allowed lads to have ball, and then they broke on numbers. And when Dublin were pressing up, Donegal just picked them off. Could we see, like, I don't think Kerry would be as naive as that now, to be fair. I think Jack O'Connor and Kerry, they're a team that's won All-Irelands. They've got some of the best players in the game. I don't think they'll make the same mistakes, as way back then. And obviously the game has evolved and changed since then as well. But could there be any curveballs thrown by Jim McGuinness, or even maybe by Jack O'Connor as well? Like, I think back to that 2014 final, and obviously it was Fitzmaurice who was the manager then, but Kerry were quite defensive in that game as well. Like, let's not forget. And they were the ones that were, they sort of called Donegal's bluff a little bit and kind of played them at their own game. So what kind of curveballs do we think we could potentially see on Sunday?
The difference between the hurling and the football is Tip could afford to play a sweeper because, like, the rules weren't changed. The thing is with football now, and it's very interesting to notice, the rules have changed. So Donegal cannot have some extracurricular activities going on because obviously you have to keep 3 up. You can't play a sweeper unless you keep one extra defender back or whatever. But then it affects the attack, and that's kind of Donegal's bread and butter this season in terms of attacking teams at pace, in terms of getting numbers up and using high intensity. So for that kind of game plan to work in the All-Ireland final, Donegal cannot play any extra guys back, because you need as many guys as you can forward to threaten the opposition. Because in normal circumstances, the defensive team have 12 people back, including the goalkeeper, whereas the attacking team have 11. If you were to drop one back, that would be 10 v 12. And do you honestly think Donegal would benefit from that, where Kerry would keep the same shape, keep the same system? I think Kerry would be better in terms of that for if Donegal planned to play a sweeper system. So for that reason, Aaron, I don't think a sweeper system will be played this weekend. In terms of a different kind of tactic, well, Jim McGuinness has come up with plenty of kind of cheat codes down through the years. So we wouldn't be shocked if he does come up with more, I'd imagine, this Sunday. But judging by the new rules, I think it's kind of, in a way, it has got Gaelic football to a better standard, but at the same time as well, it has made Gaelic football managers not do tactics that they would usually do to try and not lose rather than win.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll see a sweeper, honestly, Aaron. If Jim does come up with a big tactical move, fair play from him. Like, I think the biggest that I could think of, really, possibly Michael Murphy. Well, he has been up for the throne, but if Michael Murphy plays midfield throughout the whole game, would that take out his energy throughout as the 70 minutes goes on?
Yeah, so, no, I don't think I'd see that happening.
No, I don't think it will either. So it'd be very interesting to see what Jimmy does come up with. I think, honestly, being a boring answer, no, but I think it'll be just matchups. There won't be any sweepers because you can't afford to under the new rules.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be just 10 later, which makes it an even better game, to be fair.
Yeah, Shane was saying here do a combined 15. We might actually do that maybe towards the end. It's a good it's a good idea to be fair. And obviously very very hard to call it as well because they are so evenly matched. Like I think we could differ and that could be a separate video as well to be fair. Mikey was saying every time I back Kerry they lose, every time I go against them they win. Yeah, they are kind of that team. Do you know what though? Like I do think we could see Donegal maybe play a bit of a kicking game as well this weekend. It wouldn't surprise me if they tried to float balls on top of Michael Murphy, like stick Michael Murphy under Shane Ryan, and kind of float kind of long ball in there. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw Donegal play a bit more of a kicking game this weekend. But yeah, very 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 evenly matched. Like looking at the bench, both benches as well, and obviously we'll wait and see. Kerry have had injuries and everything else, so we'll wait and see what happens with their starting 15. But like Donegal have a strong bench there as well. Like when you've got Patrick McBrearty, like what a player you can bring off the bench. Like to come on for the last kind of 15, 20 minutes. You've got Darragh O'Boyle in there as well. Jamie Brennan, who hasn't really been he's been kind of an unused substitute, really. You've got Niall O'Donnell. Look, I do think looking at it there, Kerry probably have a slightly stronger bench. But at the same time, a player like Patrick McBrearty, like he probably is the best player you can bring off the bench. You know what I mean? And it's almost been surprising that he hasn't been starting for Donegal this year.
Bit to differ there, Aaron. I think Donegal's bench is actually stronger than Kerry's. Just look at Kerry's bench there. Killian Spillane, okay. Tony Brosnan, fair enough.
Yeah.
Sean O'Brien.
But it's mainly just because of the injuries, really, isn't it, with Kerry? Like that's the reason why their bench is a lot stronger.
Maybe so. So we'll see what happens in terms of that. In fairness, Miguel Burns is another good option. But when you look at Donegal's, Darragh, again, this is why I like it with Donegal. Like in so many facets, in defence, in their full back line, in their half forward line, as I mentioned before, there is members of that have different skill sets that suit their game. When you look at Donegal's bench, there is different skill sets. Jamie Brennan is a guy that will run at defences. Darragh O'Boyle is a guy that will kick 2-pointers for fun. Paddy McBrearty is a guy that adds experience. Or McFadden Ferry's a good tackler. Niall O'Donnell is a good assister. So you have players there. Caelan McGonigal is obviously a good kind of utility player. So the strength and depth that Donegal do have off the bench is very, very pleasing from a Jim McGuinness point of view, I'd imagine as well. And even if, let's say, Oisin Gallen's having a poor game, or Conor O'Donnell's having a poor game, which hasn't been the case over the last few weeks, they've actually hit form right now, which is probably the worrying thing from a Kerry point of view that they have done. Double O'Connor has I've seen that. It's going to be very, very intriguing to see which bench does make the best impact. I think Donegal's bench actually has more experience off it, whereas Kerry have more, I would say, nifty ballers like Tony Brosnan, like Killian Spillane. So it's going to be very interesting to see the styles and the matchups in terms of the benches and who comes onto the pitch to make the most impact. So yeah, you say the Paddy McBrearty, what a sub to bring on in terms of experience and in terms of kicking points. You could say the same about Killian Spillane. Like the scores that he's got in all of the finals, the goal he got at the 2019 game against Dublin, which, to be honest, I think Kerry should have won that game. So look, I think both sides have strength and depth on the bench, but I think Donegal might have more skill sets coming off the bench, if that makes sense. It should be very interesting, though. And
I'm muted. There we go. I was just about to give Kerry a bit of praise there, and then all of a sudden I get muted. But no, what I was going to say was that the last day Tyrone went man to man with Kerry, and they got torn inside and out. And David Clifford had an absolute field day. And there is this narrative always going around: if you stop Clifford, you stop Kerry. But has anyone been able to stop him? Do you know what I mean? I know Cork every now and again, to be fair, have been able to keep him from play, coincidentally, down the years. But in terms of these big games and these big matches, do you know, like we're saying Brendan McCall goes on him, and that's probably kind of a fair matchup. But does McGuinness come with like, does he have anything else like in terms of matchups there? Like for David Clifford, does he put two men on him? Like, what do you think he does?
I genuinely think from Mark and David Clifford's point of view, I think you have to do two things, Aaron. And I know this is simplistic, but here it goes. Number one, double mark him, and number two, foul him.
Yeah,
like that's literally all he could do at the moment. The guy has scored 8 goals in the championship, and
yeah. I don't know if fouling him works though. I feel like he actually relishes. Like, you remember him and Chrissy McKaig like a good few years ago. I feel like he relishes them battles, and I think sometimes when you see him kind of giving the fist bumps and the celebrations, I think he's like, he relishes a fight. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's. I look at someone like a Barry McCambridge who. Don't get me wrong, Barry McCambridge was physical with him, but he wasn't, getting in his face and kind of lauding him and all this kind of thing. Do you know?
Yeah. But the thing is, these new rules have suited David Clifford down to a T, because you look at his goal scoring record, 8 goals in the championship, 53 points. Like, even the top scorers this season, like, you normally would get excited who's going to be the top scorer this year, who's going to be the top scorer from play. The lists are sewn up even before the semi-finals even threw in. David Clifford was going to get the top scorer, and he was going to get the top scorer from play as well. I think he's the first player actually to score 8 goals in one championship season since the 1970s as well. Or I think it was 7 at the time, but then he scored the 8 against Toronto. I don't know who was the last player to score 8. So it's inevitable that what he does on the pitch is going to be absolutely superb. He's just an incredible Gaelic footballer. I do genuinely believe this is actually the one year, a lot of years I would have said David Clifford would have got the footballer of the year award because of his name. But this year, I feel like this is the one year where he 100% deserves it. No matter what happens on Sunday, no matter what you say about Michael Murphy, I think David Clifford deserves footballer of the year. Even before the game is thrown in, even if Kerry do lose this weekend, the way he's rebelled these players, the way he's controlled games, the way he's got the goals that he has got, the way he's dragged Kerry back into games. Like the game against Cork, I seen him in the flesh in Super Rally Park and Keith that night where Cork probably should have won the game, the Ulster semi-final. And this guy kept dragging Kerry back into it. I remember 2 points where he got an extra time. It was just wild, like unreal. Like, this guy to do anything. Like, he could be in Harry Houdini's box or something, and he would still conjure up a trick. He would still conjure up a goal or a point inside of a box or something like that. He's that kind of a player. He's an unreal individual player. And I do think with the less of defensive systems, I think the new rules have suited him. And look at the scores that he's got this season. It's just magic to watch in its own right. So I think, Aaron, I think, I don't know, would you disagree now? But I think whatever happens on Sunday, he's footballer of the year.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I don't see this happening, to be honest with you. But I think there could be a scenario, let's say hypothetically, if David Clifford had a complete off day, maybe scored 1 point from play or something like that, let's say, and Michael Murphy is the player who kind of lauds it up. I think maybe you might give it to Michael Murphy then. But to be honest, like, I don't see that happening at all. Like, you know what I mean? I think David Clifford will have a brilliant game. There's no question about that. So I do think he will win it. I do agree with you there. I don't even think it needs to be a absolute vintage David Clifford performance for him to actually go and win it. In fairness, but I think Michael Murphy's probably quite close in that regard. I think Finn Barrorty's had a brilliant year as well, to be fair, but I think you probably maybe edge towards him as young footballer of the year. Gavin says, I'd say Michael Murphy will get it if Donegal wins. Rudder says Clifford definitely better than Murphy all year, but because of the story, if Donegal wins, Murphy gets player of the year. Gaelic guy was saying here, Aaron, are you going to the final? I won't be now. To be honest, I haven't really even tried to get tickets, to be honest with you. Like, at the end of the day, it's not my county who are there. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a weird one. Like, I was at the Armagh Galway game last year, but I got a ticket literally about 2 hours before throw-in. I managed to get quite lucky there. But yeah, so no, probably won't go. But hopefully for any Kerry Donegal fans, you do get tickets. There was a great suggestion there earlier about doing a combined 15 between Kerry and Donegal. So we might maybe kind of do a little bit of that here. Now things might get a little bit messy in this board, but we'll try and kind of make it as reasonable looking as possible. But in terms of goalkeeper between Sean Patton and Shane Ryan, I'd probably edge towards Shane or towards Sean Patton there. But what would you look towards?
Both have their strengths, but I think Patton, because of his kicking ability, and in fairness, he has proved that he's a decent shot stopper this season. What I noticed with Shane Ryan, if you actually blaze it at him, he produces a brilliant save and fair play to him. But if you actually place it into the bottom corner, he doesn't really get down quick enough. So I think for that reason, I'd probably go for Sean Patton as my goalie.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. In terms of right cornerback, like Finbar Rorty as well, like it's a tricky one. Finbar Rorty, Paul Murphy. I mean, you could put Dylan Casey maybe in the mix here as well.
Yeah, would stick with probably number 2 because it's just going to be easier on the brain, to be honest. But Paul Murphy or Finbar Rorty, that's experience. That's the literal battle of experience versus youth. In terms of form this year, in terms of what he's done in the game, Paul Murphy. But that's only because Finbar Rorty is only his first year at senior inter county. But in terms of performances this season, I'd go for Rorty. But I don't know what's the criteria. What would you go down there with Aaron?
Yeah, I'll probably go with right now. Go with this year. And I do think Finbar Rorty. I agree with you as well. It's for this year, but again, like in an All-Ireland final, could we see Paul Murphy and the kind of experience step up there? But I probably would go with Finbar Rorty in relation to that. So we'll take Paul Murphy out there. In terms of fullback, it's another one as well, like Brendan McCall, Jason Foley. Like we've 2 Donegal players here on already, and I don't know, like this is a tricky one, I think, to be honest. I'll hand it over to you.
I've said this last year. I said the best fullbacks in the country by far it would have been, in my opinion, Brendan McCall, Aaron McKay, and Daniel O'Mahony in no particular order. So for that reason, I'd go for Brendan McCall. Judged by his form over the last 2 years, but Jason Foley's still a decent player. But I just feel McCall over the last couple of years has just been absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. I'll go with Brendan McCall there as well. Then looking at left cornerback, like I suppose this is probably one maybe I'd probably edge towards Dylan Casey. But where would you go here? Would you go Pater Mogan?
Both Pater Mogan are. Dylan Casey's a good player, but both Pater Mogan.
Yeah, I don't know though. I think Dylan Casey's been solid this year. I think he's been very, very good this year.
I do think so as well, but in terms of all-round ability, in terms of adding energy to the team, I think it has to be Pater Mogan.
Yeah. In terms of attack, I do agree with you there. Like I think Pater Mogan, we know that like Pater Mogan used to play in the half forward line before, and he kind of tends to drift back at wing back as well. So it's kind of it's a tricky one. Like I probably would edge towards Casey, but I'd be interested to know the comments maybe on that one. Maybe we can let the comments kind of decide. Shane does actually make a great point here actually as well, and he says Tom O'Sullivan a cornerback.
I would concede if Tom O'Sullivan instead of Dylan Casey, I'd put Tom O'Sullivan.
Maybe, yeah. Gaelic guy says Mogan has been great from what I've seen of him this year. Yeah, do you know what? He probably has been, to be fair. Mogan was better last year, says Mikey. Do you know what? We'll leave Mogan in there, but do let us know if anyone does agree there. Looking at right corner or right half back, so you got Brian O'Buglock. Roy McHugh. What would you be thinking here?
First of all, it's O'Begley, Aaron.
There's my lovely pronunciation going astray there.
It literally means Begley in English. Begley is the English word for it. It's just the Gaeltacht thing. Kerry do. Well, they do the same in Cork, to be fair, with Kin the Match.
Yeah, we wouldn't have that in these parts, unfortunately.
No, we won't. Yeah, but to be fair, Seamus is a Gaelgore.
He is, to be fair. There is plenty about. In fairness.
There is, yeah. But in terms of the player, this is a very interesting one. You know what? I'm gonna go Brino Begley for this one.
Yeah. Do you know? I thought Roy McHugh last year. Roy McHugh was brilliant. I remember him against Derry. He was phenomenal. I'd probably agree with you. There. And maybe because I couldn't, I kind of butchered his name a little bit. We'll throw him in there. And this team, by the way, it will look a lot more. Don't worry what I'm doing here. We will get this to look okay when it's all said and done. But moving into centre back, then you've got Owen Ban Gallagher, Mike Breen, Tyg Morley could be in the mix here as well. To be fair,
I still would probably go. Then again, if Tyg Morley does, I would probably would edge it towards Tyg Morley. But if you're going Mike Breen and Owen Ban, I'm going Owen Ban.
Yeah, I agree with you there as well. I think if Tyg Morley had been fit and Tyg Morley at his best, I think he gets in there. But no, I think for now we'll definitely go Owen Ban Gallagher. In terms of left half back, we've got Quaylen McColgan, Gavin White.
Easy, Gavin White.
Gavin White, yeah, absolutely. We'll go with Gavin White there. Quaylen McColgan. I feel like it's like the X Factor here or something. I'm like just deleting people as we go along. But Gaelic Isis Brian better than McHugh. And Mikey says Hurley is a strong Kerry name. I wouldn't know much about that now. I'll let you answer that.
I don't think it is. Like when you look at Cork, you have Mike and Hurley and Brian Hurley.
I can't think of any Kerry players with the Hurley name. Maybe he's just trying to wind up. I don't know.
Maybe he is. I don't
know. But there we go. Midfield then is very interesting. I definitely have Joe O'Connor in there, to be fair.
Yes.
Joe O'Connor, Michael Langan, or what would you think?
Oh yeah, all-star pairing for midfield.
Yeah.
I think automatically, or even before Sunday, these are the two.
100%, yeah. So we'll just tidy it up a little bit there. Moving into right half forward, then you've got Shane O'Donnell. You could have Paddy Clifford in the mix here. You could throw a Sean O'Shea in this position as well. What would you be thinking?
Sean O'Shea has to be centre anyway, so probably not him. Shane O'Donnell has done so well in the city, but then Paddy's the master of assists, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think if you're naming Paddy at 10, I think Paddy gets it.
Yeah. We'll put Paddy in there for now. We'll see kind of after where we kind of end up. We'll leave Shane O'Donnell maybe here, just in case we might be able to sneak him back in. And yeah, look, Kieran Thompson's had a phenomenal year as well. To be fair, he's been a very, very good player for Donegal this season, and maybe there might be a way to sneak him in here. I'm not entirely sure, but I do agree with you as well. There's no way you can't have Sean O'Shea not in this team.
Yeah. No, not at all. And you look at his scoring record this year, 12 points against Armagh as well. Like, he's actually really, really good, and he gets underappreciated, I think, at some quarters.
Yeah. I suppose then, like, looking at number 12, like you've got Kieran Moore, Graham O'Sullivan, but you could put a Shane O'Donnell or even a Kieran Thompson. Like, if you wanted to kind of sneak them into the team here, like you could kind of maybe put them over here.
I think if you're thinking about sneaking, I think Kieran Thompson probably over there. I think between two, Kieran Moore, I think is better than Graham O'Sullivan at this present moment in time.
Yeah.
I think either Kieran Moore or Kieran Thompson. And I think Thompson has been more influential for Donegal this year.
Yeah, yeah. Bro says here, I agree with your pick so far. Well done. Thank you very much there for the support. Yeah, no, I do agree with you there as well. We'll throw Kieran Thompson over here. I suppose then we're moving over to between Conor O'Donnell and David Clifford. Look, you could put David Clifford in a full forward. I mean, we know he's getting in. The question is, where do you want to play him?
That's the thing. Between the two, it's obvious, David Clifford. But the thing is, Conor O'Donnell has scored 3 goals and 21 points in the championship. He's been underappreciated all year for Donegal. So David Clifford is a slam dunk. But
Yeah,
I'll be happy to leave Conor O'Donnell floating around to see if we can fit him in somewhere.
100%. Yeah, and Michael Murphy in a full forward.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any disagreements there. Like just looking at who would be even in the mix there, I'm not even. Yeah, like I suppose you'd be looking at a Paul Gainey maybe, or maybe even a Dylan Gainey or something like that. Like to be honest, I think that would nearly be the team. Like Oisin Gallen then at left.
Yeah,
like I don't know.
It's so harsh on Conor O'Donnell. Look, really harsh.
It is. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the way it is. Like Oisin Gallen, the goal he took against Meath was superb. And he's hitting form at the right time now as well, which is a concern for Kerry. But genuinely looking at that team, assuming Aaron cleans it up there, I think it is a very, very strong team, that one, joint team. So if I'm mistaken, so we have 4, 2, 6 Kerry and 9 Donegal. It's a bit of a... Kerry fans might think that's lopsided, but maybe it's like... Yeah, it's a very, very interesting team. Look at that.
Yeah, like we had Patrick McBrearty even there as well. Like not, but he doesn't even start. But it's interesting if he was to start ahead of Oisin Gallen as well. But yeah, I'll call out the team here maybe for people to kind of who maybe can't see or anything like that. So we'll go with Sean Patton in goal, Finbar Rorty, Brendan McCall, Patter Mogan are the full back line. The half back line is Brian Beaglock? No.
Begley. Brino Begley.
Brino Begley. We'll get there. We've got Owen Van Gallagher in a number 6. Gavin White is in there as well. We've got Joe O'Connor and Michael Langan. Half forward line is Paddy Clifford, Sean O'Shea, and Kieran Thompson. David Clifford, Michael Murphy, Oisin Gallen. The numbers might be a little bit confusing there, but we'll maybe change them as well. But yeah, like I mean, I probably wasn't expecting it to be that lopsided for Donegal when I was kind of doing when we were doing this, but I suppose that's just how it's ended up.
It is, but then again, you could say number 4, number 6 could easily be Thomas Sullivan and Ty Morley, and then it would be what 8-7 to Kerry. So
yeah, and to be fair, like it's just one extra Donegal player, so like it's that way, or well, a few more Donegal to be fair, but yeah, do let us know your thoughts in the comments. Shane says looks good. A2 says no complaints with that 15, and Gaelic Guy says Donegal better team than Kerry, better individual quality. Mikey says who's the top Donegal scorer from play? I'll hand that over to you, Matthew.
It's Conor O'Donnell. That's why I feel so bad leaving the guy out. But you can't leave David Clifford out. That's madness.
No. Yeah. Like the only you could maybe say you put a Conor because Paddy Clifford hasn't been. I know he's been injured and everything else, and he's kind of been in and out of the team. You could say maybe then you could put a Conor O'Donnell in. Now I know he's, he has been playing a half forward. But if you wanted to kind of try and fit him in here somehow, you could. But it'll be interesting because when it comes to All Stars as well, they could have this same predicament as well, where you could miss out on an All Star potentially unless you sneak him into the half forwards. We'll see what happens.
That's it. Yeah, I think David Clifford and Michael Murphy are slam dunks for an All Star. I think Conor O'Donnell, judging by this season, but could we change our mind now? Could you put O'Donnell over Gallen? But then Gallen's so good as well.
Yeah, it's interesting with Gallen. It was kind of McBrearty was kind of getting the nod earlier on in the championship, wasn't he? And then Gallen kind of came back in again. And it is interesting that they haven't been able to kind of fit Gallen and McBrearty in the same team. But that probably is down to Conor O'Donnell. In fairness, but Yeah, look, that's a Donegal Kerry combined starting 15. Do let us know yours in the comments. Taking things back then in terms of a prediction, and in terms of calling it. Look, I've seen some people say replays. I've seen some people say extra time. There's been shouts for Donegal. There's been shouts for Kerry. I think one thing we would be confident enough in saying that won't happen is a hammer in either way. But then again, after what happened Sunday, nobody would have ever have predicted what happened on Sunday. So if you're to predict this, what are you thinking?
Judging by the omens and judging by the way they conduct themselves in finals, I think Kerry might sneak it. My point. It's going to be a tight one to call, but look at the omen actually, Aaron. I did put out a tweet earlier after Inter Milan knocked Barcelona out of the Champions League, saying that 2010 France won the Six Nations, Inter Milan beat Barcelona, a few other things happened here and there as well. And some All-Ireland champions were to be dished out. Who won the hurling that year, 2010? Tipperary. And Cork won the football, but what province are they from? Munster. And what province are down from? Ulster. The omens are there for Kerry to win the All-Irelands, and I feel like it is the year for them to do it. I'm going to go Kerry to win it, but it's going to be very, very close.
Yeah. And I think there's that thing as well of Jack O'Connor. Every time he wins the league, he wins the All Ireland, doesn't he? So it is kind of it's. Look, to be honest, I've tipped and I've changed my mind very much. And Shane says here, head Kerry, heart Donegal, probably a little bit like that as well. To be fair, I do think like Kerry, like probably I know you've got Jim McGuinness there on the sideline and everything else, and everything else kind of with that, and the options that he can kind of, the chaos that he can create and tactically and everything else. But I feel like Kerry probably just have the players that can do it. So yeah, like it's mad. Like I have a scoreline written down here that says Donegal we're going to win, but you know what? I think I'm going to change my mind and go for Kerry. I'm hoping my jinx continues. But yeah, we'll go Donegal 120, Kerry 121 is going to be my score prediction there. I think Kerry probably just like looking at them as well versus Armagh versus Tyrone. You just feel like they're a team that will find the edge, and if this game is in the balance with a couple of minutes, they might just have enough.
Yeah. I'm going to put it, I think this is a bold prediction, but I don't think Kerry will concede a goal. Look at the record so far. They've conceded 4 goals in the championship to Chris O'Jones, to Brian Minton, to Armagh, I think it was to Rory Grubin that time, and 1 goal as well at the start of the group stages to, it wasn't Cork. It was to Cavan in the prelim quarterfinal. They've only conceded 4 goals, Kerry. So I feel like they won't concede a goal in this one, and I'm going to say a scoreline of Kerry 122, Donegal 24 points.
Yeah, like I do think it might be like because both teams are so brilliant in terms of attack and because of the firepower that each team has. I think there might be an element of cancelling each other out a little bit for the opening kind of 15-20 minutes. And I do think, it's mad to think that's a low scoring final in Gaelic football, like in today's age. But I think that could even be after extra time, to be honest with you. I think that could even be after extra time. I have a funny feeling we could get a bit of a not as bad as this now, but a bit of Dublin Mayo 2016, where both sides are just cancelling each other out and the defenders were kind of getting on top a little bit. And I think we could see a bit of that. We could see a bit of nervousness. We could see a little bit of caginess as well. Peter was asking if you're heading up, Matthew.
Oh, staying at home. As well as that, I have to cover a game for the Southern Star on Saturday. So, and to be honest, I'd rather just watch it at home, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, I don't know, like being surrounded by Kerry fans if they win.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
not
about that.
Not a good day at the office. No, I don't want to be depressed coming out of Croke Park for 2 Sundays in a row.
Deary me, yeah, no, 100%. Kieran says it has the making of an amazing final. Everyone is on the fence. There was someone asking as well, A2 was saying watch along Sunday. Yeah, we haven't done any watch alongs this year. I've just been busy on weekends. I'm not too sure. I think I might be watching it with a few friends and family, so we'll see. We'll see kind of what happens come Sunday, but no doubt about it, we'll definitely do plenty of content and everything else when the game comes around. In terms of the man of the match prediction, the obvious one is Clifford. Would you go for Clifford? But what I'll ask you is, you know what? We'll both say Clifford because I think we both think David Clifford will be man of the match. But if there was to be someone else outside of Clifford, who would we be thinking?
I'd be thinking potentially Paul Ganey make a return. Could sneak it.
Yeah, big game player to be fair as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and his scoring tally does show that as well. He's experienced, knows how to win All Irelands as well. Like we talked about John McGrath last week, and Wiley Old Fox. Paul Ganey's the same. Quality there, it never leaves you. So I'd say Paul Ganey is the dark horse.
Yeah. I think Joe O'Connor could be in the mix. If you're looking at things from a Donegal perspective, you'd have to look at Michael Murphy, of course you would. Conor O'Donnell as well, which I think is what Mikey says here. Peter also says as well, man of the match wildcard shout Joe O'Connor. Yeah, just because it could be an area where Kerry are so dominant in, and it will be interesting to see, who Joe O'Connor does go on. If he does go on Michael Murphy, like some people have been, kind of quietly suggesting. But McHugh for man of the match says bros here. Gavin says Paddy Clifford could have a game, absolutely. And Shane says I'm almost certain Joe O'Connor has more man of the matches than Clifford this year. Yeah, absolutely. I think he got did Joe O'Connor got man of the match versus Armagh, didn't he?
He got man of the match against Tyrone, and he got man of the match against Cork. Against Cork.
Yeah, 100%. He could be in the footballer of the year conversation potentially as well.
Could be. Probably deserves a nominee, considering his performance this season. But let's be honest, Aaron, I think we all know who's going to get the award.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Shane says I think he has 4 in champions, 4 in the championships. Peter says Brendan Cawley, great show for ref. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Superb. Yeah, I've been calling for him for so many seasons now in terms of him getting the ref for the final, because you've seen some refs like, I would say, Horson and Goff and all them who are very good kind of motivation, or I would say good speakers to the media and be good with public relations. But I think in terms of a very good ref that doesn't draw attention on himself, I think Brendan Cawley is an absolutely superb shot. He's a brilliant referee. I've actually heard him ref a game, believe it or not. Obviously, heard him shouting at a player. It was during COVID. It was between Cork and Limerick, and there was one Cork player basically mounting, and basically Brendan told him to shut up, get on with the game. And I love his authority on the pitch, and he doesn't make outlandish calls either. And lots of people thought he made one in the Donegal Galway game. Remember, Ryan McHugh got penalised for picking the ball off the ground, and people are saying, "Oh, he bounced it off the ground or whatever." But the rule actually said that if you touch it below waist or something like that, anyway, it is a free in. So it's an indication that he knows the rules. Not everybody knows the rules, but he does know the rules, and I think it's an absolutely excellent call.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and to be fair, I do like David Goff, but I think he has come out with some. He's obviously had some controversial decisions and everything else. So I think he was right, to be fair, with that red card for Johnny Cooper. Back in 2019. I think it was a red card, but I think he probably has had a few controversial decisions down the years. Gaelic Guy says Cawley, very underrated ref, superb to be fair. And absolutely, yeah. Brian was saying here, Matthew, I'm so sorry, it was a very hard and sober and experiencing day. You've been without doubt the standout team of the year with lethal forwards, and I don't like the negative talk about Pat Ryan, who's had a very difficult year. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we all 100% agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people are talking about, even just rumours murmuring Ben O'Connor is is a good manager for Newtown Chandler, and he's a legend of Cork hurling, and he's well able to step up to the job. But even people talking about Ben O'Connor, I've heard rumours that Ben O'Connor is being rumoured to take over as Cork hurling manager. I think it's wrong. I think Pat deserves the time to himself, basically, because he's earned it. He's got Cork to 2 All-Ireland finals, and what is overlooked, he's got us competitive again. He's got us competitive for All-Ireland, so like, you can't. And let's be honest as well, away from the hurling pitch, it's been an absolutely tragic year for the Ryan family as well. Yeah, Pat lost his brother Ray back in February as well, and that was difficult for Pat and the whole Ryan family up in Sarsfields as well. So you have to take that into consideration as well, that they are human beings and they're doing it on a voluntary basis. I think the Cork County Board it looks like that's the way it's going to be. They're going to say, Pat, take your time over this. You come up with your own decision over time, but obviously no rash decisions now. It was obviously an emotionally disappointing day last Sunday, but look, thanks team. But yeah, it's just the bottom line. Look, let Pat make his own call and let him have time with his family, because he absolutely deserves it. Judge by what he's been through this season.
100%. No, I think we're all very much in agreement with you there. Gaelic, I was saying here, Kerry 27, Donegal 119, very tight, but Kerry pull away in the dying moments. And Mags White says Langan for man of the match. Donegal to win by 4 points in normal time. I'll be watching it from the Hogan. Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you there. I'll certainly be cheering on Donegal. There's no doubt about that. I don't know. I might have to try find a way to get a Donegal jersey for Sunday, maybe. We'll wait and see. But look, we'll wrap it up here anyway. Cheers, anyone who did tune in. Let us know your comments, your opinions in the comments below. Do let us know your predictions as well. And make sure to check out Matthew's socials as well. Gaelic Statsman over on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever you get your own podcasts as well. And look, we'll be back after. I am dropping actually a hurling team of the year video tomorrow, so make sure to check that out. And there'll be plenty more content coming the way between now and the final, and of course the final as well. So cheers anyone who tuned in, and we'll